Hello, everyone. This is Jeremy, and you're listening to Jeremy's English Tips, a series by the Culips English podcast where I teach you interesting expressions or share language learning tips. So in this episode, I am going to talk to you about listening. Now, you are already listening to a podcast in English, so the first thing I want to say is good job. You have chosen the most valuable language learning method in the world, in my opinion, at least. Many people, when they try to learn a language, they focus on reading and writing first. But anyone who has children knows that children do not do this. Children focus on listening from the very beginning. In fact, children listen to their mother's voice in the womb. So listening practice starts even before birth. Once a baby is born, they spend 2, 3, or even 4 years mostly listening to all the people around them. They hear their mother, father, and other family members speaking to them and talking about them pretty much every day. Every time they eat, they hear some of the same words repeated. For example, with my son, who is currently almost 2 years old, we often say things to him like, sit down, sit in your chair, don't climb on the table. Things like this, if he hears them many times, over and over and over, eventually he will be able to understand them and he will be able to say those things. So we are all adult language learners. I have been learning Korean for almost 9 years now, and I have been teaching English for equally as long. Learning Korean taught me many things about language learning in general. The most important thing it taught me is that listening is king. What I mean by that is listening is the most important part of any language learner's study routine. But not just listening in general, specifically repetitive listening. Repetitive listening has been the most valuable part of my Korean study by far. So let me explain what I mean by this. Repetitive is the adjective form of the word repeat. So listening repetitively means listening to the same podcast, maybe a Culips podcast, or the same YouTube video, or the same audio from your textbook, over and 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 over again. Now, some people think that this is annoying and difficult, but I beg to differ. This expression, I beg to differ, means I think differently. My opinion is that repetitive listening is only difficult if you are trying to understand what you are listening to. Children, young children and babies, do not try to understand what they hear. They simply hear sounds, and over time, they become familiar with the sounds that they hear the most. So, why don't you give it a try? Why don't you listen to this episode or another episode of Culips, say 20 times? You don't have to listen all at once, all in one day, you can listen twice today, 3 times tomorrow, 4 times on Friday, and eventually, after you've listened maybe 20 times, you will probably have memorized a lot of the expressions, sentences, even intonations of the speaker in the podcast. If you'd like to give it a try, you can do so with an episode of Culips, and the best part is we have study guides and transcripts available at our website. If you go to culips.com, you can find out how to download the study guide for this episode and for others. And after you've listened repetitively to one of the episodes, you can even check the transcript to find out if what you heard is correct. So, that's it for this English tip episode. I'm sure I will share more tips regarding listening and other language learning things in the future, as well as share interesting expressions with you. Hope you liked the episode today, and if you found it helpful, let us know via email, contact@culips.com, or on social media. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.